Good morning, everybody. This is Pastor Rex. It's Friday morning, and today we're going to answer a question that a lot of people are asking. It's the question of what is the tribulation? You know, Jesus talks about this in Matthew chapter 24 and verse 21, where Jesus talks about a time of great distress that is coming upon the earth. And as he talks about that, you know, it sounds like a pretty terrible time. And some people say, well, when is it going to happen? What is it? Well, it's just that. It will happen just before Christ returns. But it's a time when God is purifying the earth and removing all of those last remnants of sin. You know, as I thought about this, I thought about it's kind of like an antibiotic. You know, an antibiotic is to attack those germs that may be bringing disease to our body. Well, evil is a disease within the world. And so God is going to remove it finally. It's sort of the last level of purification that God is doing to get the earth ready to be a new heaven and a new earth. Now, when Jesus referred to this term, the time of tribulation, it really comes out of several Old Testament references. And you might want to look these up today. But one reference is from Zephaniah, chapter 1, verses 14 and 15, and then also in chapter 2, 1 and 2. You find another reference to this day of Jacob's trouble, I think it's called, in Jeremiah 30 and verse 7. And then you also find Daniel, the prophet Daniel, speaking of it in Daniel chapter 12 and verse 1. Now, in each of these cases, then, it describes just a time of horrible difficulty upon the earth. But it says that it speaks of Israel being delivered in that time. And so even in the midst of this great time of difficulty, God gives us hope that there is deliverance. Now, I want to just look at one of those passages from Zephaniah today, because in Zephaniah chapter 1 and verses 14 and 15, I'll get it right. It says, "The great day of the Lord is near, near and coming quickly. Listen, the cry on the day of the Lord will be bitter." It doesn't sound pleasant. "The shouting of the warrior there." It says that day will be a day of wrath, a day of distress and anguish, a day of trouble and ruin, a day of darkness and gloom, a day of clouds and darkness, a day of trumpet and battle cry. Now, if you jump down into chapter 2 of Zephaniah, it says, gather together, O shameful nation, before the appointed time arrives, and that day sweeps on like chaff. Before the fierce anger of the Lord comes upon you, before the day of the Lord's wrath comes upon you, seek the Lord, all you humble of the land, you who do what he commands. Seek righteousness, seek humility. Perhaps you will be sheltered on the day of the Lord's anger. Now that just means that God is in control even of evil, and he's going to remove evil from the earth. So really, the time of tribulation is kind of like God's final antibiotic, and he's going to remove every trace of evil from his creation. Well, something to think about for the weekend. You have a good one, okay? Bye for now. God bless.